Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. Your business may not be in a traditionally creative space, but if you communicate, you create, and your left brain is certainly getting a workout. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Samantha Parvin is a creative entrepreneur and founder of Parvin Music, a licensing and consulting business that's connected brands with some of the world's best musical talent. She was also the Coca-Cola Company's global music consultant. She's won over 30 internationally recognised awards, including 2 Cannes Lions, and has supported brands like GMC, Corona, Maker's Mark and Procter & Gamble. Sam believes that working in a process-driven industry that's as elusive and creative as music, that it's important to use creativity not only to help build a successful business, but bring some balance to your own life. And she has 4 tips for how to do this. First, though, I put to Sam the idea that co-founders often complement each other, filling skill gaps that might be missing. But as a successful sole entrepreneur, do both her left and right brain fire on all cylinders, or has she had to skill up on one side or another?
You're right. That is a pretty typical business model, and I explored that route. But really, I wanted to be able to work directly with my clients and handle it all because, music is strategic and can be very business focused, looking at our business objectives. And it's also very creative. I don't have any formal training in music. I've, sang for many years and I played many different instruments. But really my role is a lot more around communication and making sure that we can take the idea that a client has, a brand has, and craft it into music. So I'm really kind of the translator between the brand image and the brand's goals, and personality, and how that's going to sound ultimately.
Well, audio is in a new golden age, and brands are now encouraged to consider how they sound and their overall audio strategy. Very much a coming together, as you say, of business and artistic goals. So when you're working with brands like Coke or Maker's Mark, what is your approach to sourcing and licensing the best music for their campaigns?
Yeah, my role is really to ask why a lot. I always do my best to be in direct communication with the marketing executives at brands. They're really the ones who are in charge of or owners of the purpose and personality of the brand. And so I want to be in connection with them to make sure that their image of what the brand should be is what we're portraying through the use of music. So I start there and just really ask a lot of questions around why would we use certain kinds of music and who are we speaking to and what's important for that consumer, so that we can deliver them something of value and say something that adds something, So I really create this web of communication amongst the brand directly and the agency team and the creatives and the director and the producer so that we're all in communication together and working all towards kind of the same goal from our many different aspects, whether it's budgets or timelines or KPIs or creativity.
Are you finding that more brands are coming to you for music resourcing than perhaps in years past?
Yes. Well, I think that brands are asking more questions about what they can be doing with music, for sure. Yeah, my clients are much more tuned in now to the opportunity that there is to create an ecosystem, through audio and music, where I think in the past it was more of a tactical execution thing, like we need to have some kind of sound in this, so let's slap a song into it. Brands are really starting to see the opportunity that is there, and that's what they come to me for.
Well, from your own experience, you have 4 great tips for not only how to build a successful business, but to take in your achievements, be proud of your work, and of course, have fun, which is often forgotten. And your first tip, Sam, is to manage your energy. Can you explain this a bit if you could?
Yes, it's really important to hone in on when you're at your personal best for different kinds of tasks. I know that I am a very action-oriented person, and when I get overwhelmed, I go towards doing more things, for instance. But a lot of my job is to think and to listen to music and to really get to the heart of what's going to make this project the best it can be. So sometimes I'll have to, really make myself slow down and schedule out time for doing less. I know that in the mornings, that is my time when I can best focus and do the things that really need most of my creative brain. And so I will always schedule those things in the morning, and then I'm more sociable in the afternoon. So those kinds of things, but also, managing when you get down on yourself or when you're being extra hard on yourself, or there's kind of a self-management there, especially when you're an entrepreneur that works for yourself. I also track my hormone cycle throughout the month, which I think is something that more and more women are looking into. We as women have different times of the month that we're more powerful in different ways. So more creative in certain times of the month, and then more action-oriented in other times of the month, and more reflective in other times of the month. And my main resource for that is Miranda Gray. She wrote a book called The Optimized Woman. And so I've really been into that for about probably 2 years now, and it's been a huge help for me, and also for giving myself a little bit of license to chill when I'm in certain times of the month.
Yeah, that is so important. Well, the second tip is to be connected to both worlds. Which worlds are you referring to, and how can we do that?
These are the worlds of your emotions and also of facts. Both are very important to acknowledge and work with to ensure results in your business and also satisfaction in your life. For instance, if you've tripled your revenue this year over last year, but you're so stressed out and frustrated, or you're getting projects that you're not interested in at all, or you have no time to relax, then maybe you need to make some adjustments. It's important to look at both the factual data and also how you're feeling about it. Also, a lot of the time we kind of feel a certain way, like I feel like I'm making progress, I'm growing my business. But really then when you look at your goals, sometimes you're further away from your goals than you thought you were, So really recognizing these both sides of how you feel, and then also in data and results, what you've accomplished.
Now, the third tip is a particular struggle for some right-brained creatives, but fundamentally important. You say you have to be clear on your finances all the time.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of friends who are also, running their own businesses, and they'll come to me and they want to talk about numbers because they know that I'm into that. And as soon as we start talking numbers, their eyes kind of glaze over and they're just like, can we get to the fun part, But really, numbers don't lie, okay? So they can give you so much insight, not just like how much, revenue you're generating or whatever, but how you're spending your time, how effectively you're spending your time. And if you're like me, especially if you're an entrepreneur, then you probably started your business, or one of the reasons you started your business was to have more freedom of time. And so when you can use numbers to show you how effective you've been against, the number of hours that you're working, that allows you to then start making adjustments to ensure that you have both freedom and profit.
And your fourth tip is one that some entrepreneurs tend to ignore, but is absolutely accurate. You've got to be profitable before you grow. What is your experience with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am really fortunate to be in a business where we're mostly selling intellectual property. So I have very low operating expenses, and profit hasn't been an issue for me. But what has been a challenge for me is knowing when to spend on expanding my business. Again, for me, profit equals freedom. So before you start building your business, like growing and hiring more people and buying more equipment and renting offices, and those are all liabilities. So before you start doing that, get clear on how much profit you're making, for instance, every month, versus waiting until the end of the year to see if you made any profit. Because revenue is great and all, but profit is where you can really create freedom and assets for your life. I use an accounting method called Profit First by a man named Mike Michalowicz, and I highly recommend it. Read the book. It will give you a clear picture of the money you have to make your business decisions anytime, any day.
That was Parvin Music founder, Samantha Parvin. Business Essentials Daily is a SoundCartel podcast. Executive producer is Heather Dawson. Producers are Nick Schilberger, Chris Ashmore, and myself. Technical production by Pete Letts and Belinda Trimboli. I'm Nicole Goodman. Thanks for listening. We'll bring you more Be Daily next week. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.